yesterday said he thinks he comes back.
Maybe as he knows him better than I do. I don't know Jon. I don't claim to know Jon.
What is happening to the UFC heavyweight division? Right now, it exists in a state of organized chaos, a kingdom with two kings and no clear path to the throne. In one corner, you have the undisputed active champion, Tom Aspinall.
Gun to my head, I would have said Jon Jones will beat him right now. Guess why? Tom has never been pushed into those championship rounds. Once he gets to those championship rounds, even now, say Cyril Gane pushes him 25 minutes. If he beats Cyril Gane, but he learns to go 25 minutes where that first time you feel that
A man who, as reported by outlets like SportsTak, is eager to defend his belt and prove he is the true heir to the division. He wants to fight, stay active, and build his legacy. In the other corner, you have the ghost of the division, the legendary Jon Jones, a man whose every move is a headline, a controversy, and a mystery. As recently as June 2025, publications like Sky Sports and the Economic Times covered his shocking blink-and-you-miss-it retirement, only for him to announce a dramatic return to the testing pool just 2 weeks later. This isn't just a simple dispute over who fights next. This is a cold war for the future of the heavyweight crown, a complex game of chess involving legacy, power, and public perception that has left fans, fighters, and even UFC President Dana White in a state of high-stakes uncertainty. What is truly going on behind the curtain is a story far more shocking than you can imagine. Just when the MMA world thought it had a moment of clarity, Jon Jones set it on fire. On June 21, 2025, the living legend appeared to close the book on his storied career. In a statement posted online, he spoke of closing a chapter, looking forward to new challenges, and contributing to the sport in other ways. For a brief moment, the chaos seemed to be over. The endless debate about a title unification bout with Tom Aspinall was seemingly put to rest. As reported by multiple outlets, this move was set to officially elevate Aspinall to the undisputed heavyweight champion, clearing the path for the division to finally move on. It felt like an ending. But with Jon Jones, nothing is ever that simple. The peace lasted less than 2 weeks. On July 4th, in a move that can only be described as a strategic masterclass in confusion, Jones announced he was back. His post, captured by publications like Sports Illustrated, was almost comically casual. Just re-entered the testing pool. That lasted for about 2 weeks. Figured we'd keep everyone's options open. This wasn't just an indecisive athlete having second thoughts. This was a calculated power play. For years, as documented in reports from outlets like Give Me Sport covering his difficult negotiations, Jones has used leverage like no one else. Retirement, moving weight classes, public demands for more money, these are all tools in his arsenal. By retiring, he gauges the reaction. He sees how much the UFC and the fans miss him. He reminds everyone that the biggest fights in the division happen only with his permission. Then, by returning so quickly, he yanks the rug out from under everyone, reinserting himself as the center of the universe and leaving the actual champion in a state of limbo. Was it a negotiation tactic to secure a bigger payday for the Aspinall fight? Or was it a psychological blow designed to frustrate his rival and disrupt his focus? Whatever the motive, the message was clear. The heavyweight division operates on Jon Jones's time. But while Jon Jones was busy playing games with his own legacy, the real champion was growing tired of the circus. As Jon Jones played his games of retirement and return, the real heavyweight champion was making a power move of his own: silence. Tom Aspinall, a fighter known for his straightforward, no-nonsense approach, had finally had enough of the drama. In multiple interviews leading up to his scheduled title defense, Aspinall made his position crystal clear. As quoted in publications like TalkSport and MMA Fighting, he publicly stated he was officially done with the whole Jon Jones saga. He explained that he was wasting too much mental energy on a fight that might never materialize, a ghost that was overshadowing his own reign. His focus, he declared, was now solely on the real and dangerous opponent in front of him, Curtis Blaydes at UFC 304. This wasn't a sign of surrender, it was a declaration of independence. Aspinall was taking his destiny back into his own hands. This move was more than just frustration, it was a statement about what a champion should be. In Aspinall's view, and as he has argued in interviews covered by outlets like Bloody Elbow, belts are not trophies to be polished on a shelf, they are meant to be defended. He won the interim title on short notice, and now as the undisputed champion, he believes his duty is to keep the division moving. By accepting a high-risk fight against a top contender like Curtis Blades, a man who holds a previous victory over him, Aspinall is proving his championship mettle. He is willing to risk his title and a potential multi-million-dollar payday against Jones to prove he is the best in the world right now. He is actively building his legacy brick by brick, while Jones seems more interested in protecting his. This strategic refusal to engage in Jones's mind games was Aspinall's way of telling the world, the UFC, and Jones himself that the division would not be held hostage. But just as Aspinall began to successfully shift the world's focus onto his own legitimate title reign, a bizarre rumor from the highest level of politics threatened to drag him right back into the very chaos he was fighting to escape. Just when Tom Aspinall tried to ground the conversation in the reality of a scheduled fight, a rumor emerged that was so outlandish it felt like something from a movie script. The world of politics threatened to hijack the entire narrative. While an event on the White House lawn itself remains the stuff of fantasy, credible reports and fighter speculation covered by outlets like MMA Mania began to swirl around a different but equally seismic possibility: a massive, patriotic-themed UFC event. The idea was centered around a major American holiday, like the 4th of July, and was inevitably linked to the very public relationship between UFC President Dana White and President Donald Trump. This wasn't just baseless chatter. The connection is well documented by major news organizations like the USA Today, who have reported on their long-standing alliance. Suddenly, a potential fight card had political and nationalistic undertones. For an event of this magnitude, the UFC would need a main event that transcends the sport. It would require a clash of titans with a built-in, easily digestible narrative. And what story is bigger than the return of the American legend Jon Jones to defend home turf against the undisputed British champion Tom Aspinall? The marketing writes itself. USA versus the UK, the greatest of all time versus the new lion of the heavyweight division. This potential spectacle instantly transformed the fight from a simple title unification into a symbolic international showdown. It put immense pressure back on all parties. It would be the perfect legacy-defining stage for Jones's return, an offer almost too good to refuse. At the same time, it threw Aspinall right back into the storm. The very man trying to focus on his dangerous upcoming bout was now once again forced to answer questions about a hypothetical super fight, a fight that now had the weight of national pride attached to it. The entire landscape had shifted, and with the stakes raised to such incredible heights, everyone in the fight world was forced to seriously consider who would actually win.
With the possibility of this mega fight feeling more real than ever, the question that once lingered in the background is now being debated furiously in every gym, podcast, and forum. Who would actually win? This isn't a simple matchup, it's a complex puzzle with no clear answer, and the most respected minds in mixed martial arts are completely divided. The debate has split the community into two distinct camps: those who trust in the legendary aura of Jon Jones, and those who believe in the unstoppable momentum of Tom Aspinall. On one side, you have figures like Daniel Cormier, a man who knows Jones' abilities better than almost anyone. As he is broken down on his platforms covered by outlets like MMA Junkie, Cormier's bet is on Jones's mind. He argues that Aspinall has never been dragged into the deep, dark waters of a 5-round championship war, a place where Jones is a master navigator. Adding to this camp was a truly shocking endorsement from Aspinall's own friend, Paddy Pimblett. As reported by Bloody Elbow, Pimblett picked Jones to win, a stunning admission that underscores the sheer weight of Jones's legacy. But for every expert backing Jones, there is another who sees the dawn of a new era. Faris Zahabi, the world-renowned coach from TriStar Gym, presented a terrifyingly simple analysis. He believes Aspinall's modern heavyweight power and speed would be too much, boldly stating that no one, including Jones, could survive more than 2 rounds with the British champion. This sentiment is echoed by others like Chael Sonnen, who has argued relentlessly on his channel that Jones is actively avoiding this fight. As cited by MMA News, Sonnen believes Jones sees the immense risk Aspinall represents and is trying to hold out for an older, less dangerous opponent in Stipe Miocic. This is the core of the debate. Is Jones's inactivity and age a critical weakness, Or is his experience in fight IQ an insurmountable advantage? Aspinall is a storm of speed and power, finishing fights with shocking efficiency. Jones is the master problem solver, a strategist who dissects his opponents over 25 minutes. It's a classic clash of styles, but this rivalry is fueled by more than just fighting philosophies. It's personal, rooted in a history of injuries, interim titles, and damning accusations. This intense standoff didn't just appear out of thin air. It's the explosive result of a contentious 2-year saga filled with injuries, legacy fights, and a series of decisions that have led many to a single, damning conclusion: that Jon Jones is actively avoiding Tom Aspinall. The story begins in March of 2023 at UFC 285. Jones made a triumphant return to the octagon, submitting Cyril Gane with ease to capture the heavyweight title. But as ESPN and other outlets reported at the time, his celebration speech made one thing clear: he wasn't interested in the division's rising contenders. He wanted a legacy fight against the man many consider the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe Miocic. This set the stage for a blockbuster event, but it also planted the first seed of controversy by deliberately sidestepping the logical contenders. Then, disaster struck. Just weeks before their scheduled bout at UFC 295, Jones suffered a severe pectoral tear in training, forcing him out of the fight and onto the surgical table. In the ensuing chaos, the UFC created an interim title to save the event, pitting the surging Tom Aspinall against the knockout artist Sergey Pavlovich. Aspinall seized the moment, delivering a spectacular first-round knockout that crowned him the interim champion, and, in the eyes of the sport, the mandatory next challenger for Jones. This is where the narrative takes its dark turn. As Jones recovered, his focus remained locked on rebooking the Miocic fight, completely ignoring the new interim champion who held a legitimate claim to a unification bout. Aspinall, in interviews with outlets like the Mac Life, repeatedly voiced his frustration, arguing that the UFC's stance made his belt meaningless. To fans and critics, the situation looked deeply suspicious. It appeared that Jones was choosing to wait for an older, less active opponent while actively avoiding the most dangerous and explosive new threat in the division. The perception was that he was protecting his legacy from a high-risk, low-reward fight. This pattern of perceived avoidance doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's magnified by the long and undeniable shadow of controversy that has followed Jones his entire career.
To truly understand why the accusations of avoidance stick to Jon Jones like glue, you have to look beyond the octagon. The skepticism from fans and fighters doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's built on a long and well-documented history of controversy, a pattern of behavior that has eroded the trust of many. Throughout his career, Jones has been a magnet for trouble, with his immense talent often overshadowed by his decisions outside the cage. There have been numerous well-publicized issues behind the wheel, including a shocking hit-and-run incident that led to him being stripped of his title. More seriously, there have been multiple instances of accusations surfacing, such as a notable case in Las Vegas that, while the charges were ultimately dropped, left a dark mark on his reputation and his relationship with his family. These recurring run-ins with the law created the public perception of a man constantly living on the edge, unable to stay out of his own way. This pattern of questionable judgment extends to his professional career as well. Some of his greatest victories have been tainted by the shadow of failed drug tests, leading to multiple suspensions and the stripping of his titles on more than one occasion. His legendary rivalry with Daniel Cormier, for instance, is forever marked by overturned results due to abnormal findings in his samples. This history has created a deep trust deficit. When a fighter has a record like this, their actions are no longer taken at face value. An injury announcement is met with suspicion. A retirement claim is seen as a strategic ploy. This is why the narrative that he is ducking Tom Aspinall is so powerful and so believable to so many. His past has shown a willingness to operate outside the lines, making it entirely plausible to his critics that he would manipulate a matchmaking situation to his advantage. But what if all this chaos, all this controversy, isn't a liability for his employers? What if it's actually their greatest asset? With the division in chaos and a controversial star at the center of it all, it's easy to point the finger at Jon Jones. But what if the real puppet master isn't the fighter, but the promotion that signs his checks? There is a compelling and cynical theory that this entire saga, the delays, the retirement scares, the public call-outs, and the constant drama,
isn't a sign of mismanagement by the UFC. Instead, it might be one of the most brilliant marketing campaigns the sport has ever seen. The UFC doesn't just sell fights, it sells stories. As marketing experts have noted for years when analyzing their success, the most profitable narratives are always the simplest. It's good versus evil, hero versus villain. And this situation has handed them the perfect script on a silver platter. In one corner, you have Tom Aspinall, the honorable, hard-working family man from the UK, the classic hero. And in the other, you have Jon Jones, the American anti-hero with a checkered past and a reputation for mind games. Think about the sheer volume of engagement this drama has created. A simple fight announcement would have generated a few weeks of hype. This 2-year-long Cold War, however, has produced endless content, fueled countless debates, and kept both fighters in the headlines without either throwing a single punch at the other. UFC President Dana White plays his part to perfection. He appears frustrated at press conferences. He complains about fighters not wanting to fight, but he rarely steps in to kill the drama with a definitive ruling. By allowing the chaos to fester, he lets the story build and the tension mount. Every strategic leak and every public statement is another log on the fire, building anticipation to a peak pitch. The ultimate goal is to transform a big fight into a massive cultural event that even the most casual viewers feel invested in. This isn't just about finding out who the better fighter is, it's about seeing the conclusion of a long and bitter story. Whether it's a deliberate plan or a series of fortunate events, the result is the same. The entire world is watching, waiting for the final act. So here we stand, at a crossroads in the heavyweight division. On one side, a legitimate champion in Tom Aspinall is risking his title and legacy to prove that the division moves for no single man. On the other, a legendary figure in Jon Jones continues to play a high-stakes game of chess, where the rules are his and his alone. Is this a calculated avoidance of a dangerous new threat, or the strategic maneuvering of the greatest fighter of all time? Is it a genuine conflict between two athletes, or a masterfully promoted spectacle designed to squeeze every last dollar out of the public's curiosity? The truth is likely a tangled web of all of the above. The only thing that is certain is that the legacies of both men are now inextricably linked, defined by a fight that may or may not ever happen. The final chapter is yet to be written, and the entire world is waiting to see if it ends with a closed fist or an open question.